Can I have it?
Recording in progress.
Please. Have yourself a mooncake.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that moon.
Oh yeah, just don't need to hurry. You just get the mooncake. It's all good.
Rooster energy's coming out. Hurry up and get that damn mooncake. I don't want it. I'd have got it if I wanted.
I have. I'm good. Yeah, I did, and it's all good. Perfectly. I want other people to eat the mooncake.
We're gonna edit all this out.
Tight ship, right?
The Rooster is the tight ship. We're recording, right? Other people?
This is 100% live.
Word. Excellent.
All right, so how many people do we have here? Party people in the house, make some noise.
See the chi in
All right.
motion.
Can we get thumbs up from people if we got sound?
Right now too?
I logged off, but before I logged off.
Okay, well, right now, I got the full picture. Chat. Well, I don't know if they can hear me.
Oh, yeah. So,
Yeah.
Huh. Hey, how's it going?
once upon a time, not long ago, when people wore pajamas and lived life slow. Yeah, okay, well, I can see levels moving.
Yeah.
Are people saying hi? Hi? Maybe I can log in myself. We are not very functional this evening.
This is clearly a professional production.
Yeah. So, what does that mean for us roosters?
Well, I mean, if you're uptight. people are uptight,
Okay, so we are going to start brewing these teas. Okay, so this month we have a really lovely array of teas. We got 3 teas in the tea club this month and a mutton fat teacup. They're pretty nice. But one of the teas we're going to drink today is a jiaogulan. It's a herb, it's a vine, it's considered poor man's ginseng. It has this really nice roasted grass aroma and quite light.
I'm just talking to somebody having a mooncake.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Making sure. You good? You like the mooncake?
Yeah, we are running a very tight ship.
Oh no, clearly.
Today. It's like we're recording or something. It's fine. So you want to smell it? You want to give it with that tin? We still haven't gotten word if audio works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people can hear it.
People can hear us.
Like, you two speaking, they can hear you fine.
You guys can hear us.
Do they hear you too?
I didn't ask if they could hear me well. Yeah, the response I got when I asked is they could hear the main fine.
Good. Yeah, one of these days
Good.
I'll stop doing my Wednesday class right before this thing, and I'll give myself more than 20 minutes to prepare.
I wouldn't count on it.
Let's see. So, Jiaogulan. I've got my Gaiwan. All of these teas today we're going to brew with a Gaiwan, and we're going to warm it up first with some 185. You could go boiling, why not? But the idea is to warm your vessel so that you can introduce the tea to a nice, warm, welcoming home, because, this is, after all, hospitality. And as above, so below. So I want to be generous and welcoming to my guests here in the same way I'm being generous and welcoming to my tea. Oh,
He gives hugs to everybody.
I haven't done that yet. Maybe that's why things aren't running so smooth.
Oh, you give 2 hugs to me.
Did I?
Didn't give hugs to other people?
Have I hugged? No, I haven't hugged you.
Well, yeah, Rooster can be a little cold. Yeah, Rooster cheek can be a
Metal
little kind of
Rooster, yeah,
standoffish.
especially,
Yeah, a
yeah,
little bit like in your head, like not able to connect with people, like kind of like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, it's also, in Rooster moon in a rabbit year. So
So let's talk more about that.
double retreat.
Double retreat.
Double retreat.
Double retreat. No
Double
surrender.
retreat. Do not collect $200.
The double retreat, double surrender.
Right. Double retreat. Just meaning that like the general stance of the eighth moon is a kind of preliminary retreat. As a sort of autumnal kind of edit. It's sort of an exploration. Something we'll talk about, like just in terms of the topic of reconsideration. Like, what does it mean to reconsider? But in the context of a rabbit year, you know, that kind of retreat can be like based more in a vulnerability, rather like sudden lack of confidence. I need to, you know what? I'm just gonna go home. And a kind of feeling to the moon, which I think is perfectly fine. You shouldn't force through that. You should be, yeah, just didn't really feel like going, you know. Sounded like a good idea at the time when I made the plan, but there's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, the water rabbit year in and of itself is a time of is completely a time of retreat, right? Like we had summer and it was like a little bit of an exception to the rule where like you felt really driven and motivated to do things, but not me. As a whole, like once it's quick, you know, autumn is quick, like quick to winter, you know, that's what I would say is the reconsideration levels should be strong. And if you have some anxiety about that, that's okay. That's totally natural given the fact that you're in this kind of diametric situation. But regardless, you know, it's time to reconsider. The tagline really is that you can't be re-inspired unless you're willing to reconsider. You know, you can't actually do it. You can't just have constant inspiration. You need to actually step back and think that maybe the whole thing was wrong, right? Because we're actually headed toward winter, where everything is differentiation, like is loosening pretty rapidly, like where we get to like have confidence and move forward and make distinctions and have have a feeling of fulfillment. Like it's all sort of retraction and consolidation and revision is what the chi is in support of. So we should not necessarily go hardcore, like disappear, you know, because then you don't get to actually feel the abundance of the warmth of summer as you take into the winter. It should be kind of like small retreats, small little considerations, but it's also, that can also manifest in the kind of antisocial sort of vibe. My little retreat is, yeah, no hugs for you today. That's my form of retreat.
Wow, I should flex that one.
Yeah.
No hugs for you, hug Nazi.
Yeah.
Well, how is this tea?
Very light.
Yeah, first steeping, and I want to invite you to smell because it gives this really nice vegetal, almost, you know, very reminiscent of the season, kind of like pumpkin greens. You know?
Oh yeah, like root vegetable kind of thing.
Yeah. Really, really nice.
Pretty earthy.
And please write bigger. Are you flash steeping the tea? Yeah, flash steeping the tea. And so I'm using 185-degree water. I'm not steeping too long because I'm not familiar with this tea, and it's not a tea actually. Again, it's an herb. It's a dry vine.
Oh,
And
okay.
so typically you don't want to go too hot.
Right. You just want to reconstitute it.
Exactly. Yeah. Great word for it.
Yeah.
And so
could you cook with this?
I'm not familiar with this herb. This is actually my very first time having it, and I brought it up. Jiaogulan. I might even be saying it wrong, but it's considered poor man's ginseng, and this is one of the flavors for this month's tea club.
Okay.
We'll do one more brew, and then we'll move on to our other stuff. How about that?
Yeah. So I think the baseline understanding in terms of when we're talking about the eighth moon, before we get in all the particularities, it's a rooster energy and what is rooster chi and how does it like or doesn't work with rabbit? Because I'm not of the in my practice, I'm not so quick to consider diametrics a problem. I think that they can result in like just a feeling of I'm not really sure what I'm saying, you know, kind of vibe, or like I'm not sure if did that come across, you know, like those kinds of experiences. But that's not unusual, and that's, you know, it doesn't rise to the level of like the notion of, for instance, like Mercury retrograde, you know, where everybody's like, communication is terrible. Don't have a conversation with your spouse. You know, like everybody gets very reactive. You know, don't make business deals or buy a car. You know, like it's very restrictive. Those notions of where astrological notions where communication is considered problematic. You know, it's just one more thing to kind of navigate. Maybe I need to say it 2 or 3 times. You know, and like, and actually it develops a bit of clarity. And repetition is not a rooster's problem. They're good with like,
we need sound effects, man. Okay.
damn, I'll just repeat it. Like a rooster will go over it and go over it again and go over it a third time. So like if that's something that's and that's not a problem, that's actually just one more layer of refinement, you know, that's available. But the sort of central turn that we're talking about when we get to the 8th moon, which is the 2nd moon of autumn, right? And we've already been through the 1st moon of autumn, which was the metal monkey. And in general, like what you're talking about when you're talking about the moons of autumn, the 1st moon of autumn is this kind of escape from, or potentially trying to still hold on to, the kind of excesses of late summer. Like, what if I can get away with one more thing? You know, this is very monkey, right?
Wow, I'm living that. What if I can just eat
Just-
like 5 more watermelons?
Dude, it's 5 minutes to 9. I can still get another mooncake in, you know, like, did he say not eat after 7 or, right? So there's this kind of playfulness that comes with the capacity to edit, right? Which does represent this kind of tension between late summer and the beginning of autumn. But when you get to the 8th moon, things are a little bit more serious. Like Rooster doesn't play, right? Rooster's like, it's binary.
Shout
right?
out roosters.
All the roosters, it's very binary, right? So the value system is kind of black and white, you know, when it comes to the rooster. Well, it's either correct or it's not, you know, either it adds up or it doesn't, you know, and like some of that is kind of like an autumnal survival quality, right? And there is actual necessity that comes when you're thinking about that kind of calculative, because it's a survival aspect. It's like, this is the last moon before we enter into the transition to winter, you know, so where, even though we live in an industrial society, the idea of like being able to continue to generate, regardless, whether you're agrarian or you're living in the city, is just harder, you know, it's harder to get resources. It's harder to maintain and hold on to your resources. You need to be precise, you know. There's a lot of aspects when we talk about rooster chi. Like, what does rooster chi mean? People focus on intellect and mentality and analysis, right? But it's also precision. It's also like, let's be very clear, you know, about what we have and what we still need. And we can actually be confident when we know what that is, you know, and we know what our resources are. We've done the tally. And not only can we feel good about going into the winter, but we can also feel satisfied and actually even have a sense of enjoyment, you know? So like one of the hexagrams that is available in this time, it's actually pretty important, is 58, like, which is this notion of pleasuring, which is this kind of exchange with nature. Like, look at that. Like, we actually made the effort, we engaged with nature, and look at all this bounty, you know, like there's that kind of feeling of satisfaction that comes, and that is primarily because we've done the work, we've done the calculation. Like, I can show you the tally, you know. If you think about humanity in the origin of writing, across the board, it's usually associated with tracking grain storage. So this is a very old instinct that we have, you know, to like be in relationship with our resources, and to be very clear about what we can and cannot do. And this is at root, like a huge part of Chinese culture is this deep level of pragmatism, not because they just don't get caught up in like what might be, like actually really just want to know what is, like what's going on. So the rooster is the phoenix, is all the kind of
Crane,
bird.
too.
Yeah, it's a very it's bird, you know, and that bird is basically not really so much about flight as it is the like precision.
Huh.
Is the image.
Huh.
So there's a parallel that's actually important to understand, a parallel of freshness. Okay, so between
segue from freshness, fresh new tea. This is a dragon pearl. It's a red tea rolled with chrysanthemum.
oh, I'm all about this.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Chrysanthemums.
yeah, this is tea number 2. Go ahead.
So in the spring, we have a yang style freshness, okay? And it's to be generative of yang, right? So that freshness is a kind of explorative, imaginative place where we get to like try stuff out, you know? In this, we talk about ganying being like this resonance place where we like not only the people that we want to work with and develop trust with, bonds so that we can work in alliance and co-creation, but also like resonance in terms of like what it is that we feel called to do, right? And there's a level of assumptions that are kind of weaved into that, just about like who we are in space and time, like what our perceived needs are, what we're excited to do, what we're drawn to do, what we need to do. So everybody has a story if they go back to their spring and sort of review your appetites for the spring. What was moving you? How were you moved? The freshness of fall is to revisit that and break it down, even in a kind of deconstruct it as much as possible. Like some people will not deconstruct it very far, but there may be conditions that actually bring forward the need to reconsider what your assumptions were going into and break it down as far as it can go. Just in terms of like, wow, you know, I really put myself out there, the system that I'm working in, you know, the assumptions I had about what success is, how did I do with that? Even if I met my expectations, is it something that's sustainable? Like you can, you know, like, is my family involved in this? Do we even talk about it at all? You know, like how far do we go with this level of reconsideration? But it is available to us. And in that, there's insight and freshness because summer is done. Like
Summer's been done.
But we've had plenty of excuses to say that, oh, you know, I could still, you know, blah, blah, blah. And like, once you get to the equinox and things are in balance, which is where we are now, that's the chi node that we're in now. It's the 8th moon in the equinox. And so the 8th moon is a time to get serious and to make, I can't wait to have this because your face has changed like 4 different, oh, God. Oh. Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's linger
what?
on that point.
Okay.
Yeah, let's linger on that point. Summer's done.
Summer's done, folks.
Yeah.
Summer
And we just had
been over.
the equinox, and tomorrow.
Well, we're still in
is-
equinox, according to chi nodes.
True that.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow's
Mid-autumn festival.
Mid-autumn festival.
Mhm.
Call your where's the camera? Call your teachers. Tell them you love them. This is
Have some mooncake. Have some mooncake.
1 of 4 times of the year you're obligated to say hello to your teacher.
Well, and the equinox represents these. I'll give this back to you. Can't wait to have that. The equinox represents these like 4 major pivots. All cultures of the world, you know, have the 2 equinox and the 2 solstice, and the equinoxes represent the midpoint, whereas the solstice represents like where one is dominating over the other. Okay, so at this equinox, you know, the image is like yin takes control, and yang is like aged and bedridden, you know, like can barely get out of bed, right? So before that, you know, you could say that I mean, all the things we've been saying about scale back is so you're not fooling yourself in developing a medical condition, because most medical conditions from the Chinese medical standpoint and the cosmological standpoint are basically developed in late summer, where you are going overboard still, in excessive still, in ruining your resources internally, in developing, potentially debilitating medical conditions. So don't do that. And like, don't, just stop. Has been what we've been saying for like the last 4 weeks, maybe longer. So, but now with the equinox, it's like, okay,
Yeah. Well, that's your boy
So-
Hippocrates, right? He's like, before you treat somebody, are they willing to give up what makes them sick?
right. And the idea behind any of the Chinese medical treatments is basically developing a rapport and understanding what the habits in the individual are, and basically removing the obstructions that restore balance, restore health,
For sure.
for the body to reassert its own capacity to restore health in as much as it can, right? So there is no one definition of health. It's just that, can you remove the things either in your life as a matter of your own habitual practice, that actually inhibit your capacity to be well? Because this is where we get into perhaps the kind of the more Taoist understanding of this cosmology. And it's very interesting to me to talk about this, because I try not to. Just because I want to be very careful about what I consider to be like, Taoist. But in this cosmological system, there is an assumption of Tao De, meaning that there is nature and your own self-nature. There's no difference. And this is at the equinox, when yin and yang are in harmony. This is like the exact time where we can feel that, if we're willing to actually have not kicked up summer too much. Right? If we can actually slide back and bring it home, bring our own condition home.
It's really nice.
Like it.
So bringing home roosters or birds. What's Qigong for that? So where's our sound effect?
Bring it home.
Here we go. Yeah, there's a Qigong for that. And so in conversation of bringing it in, we're going to bring it in. We're going to bring our fingers to a point. In the conversation of bringing it in, we're going to bring those points in towards our chest, and just wherever it lands comfortably. It doesn't have to be any place in particular, but this is a point that's associated with our lungs. Bottom falls,
metal element
metal
is the lungs,
and
lungs and
big,
small
big
intestine.
themes here, right? Okay, so we'll start small and gradually ramp this up into full range. And so what we'll do is, holding this space, just kind of go forward, go out, go back, go down. Right? Not so bad, right? Go forward,
It's very
go out, go back,
roostery.
go down. Yeah, very roostery. Right? Now we're gonna add a little bit to it, because we want to go forward so much that the elbows like legit point forward at the horizon. And then now beyond forward, we actually want to go up. So try and point those elbows up.
Nice.
Oh, juicy, right? And then we're going to go out and back and down. So you have forward, up, out, back, down. Where's the camera? Right? Forward, up, out, back, down. How many of you have snappy, scratchy, crunchy?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Now let's reverse.
Just trying not to rip my shirt.
Yeah, Hulkamaniacs, right? Let's go backwards, right? Yin Yang is such you can go backwards with it too. So we'll start small, just back, out, forward, right? Back, out, forward. Pretty easy. Now we'll actually try and get those directions sound, right? So actually point back, actually point out. Try and point up before going forward. And then we have back, out, up, forward, back, out. Whoa. There you have your
That's a nice one. I like that one.
chicken. It's nice because it gets the whole shoulder girdle.
Yeah.
And when you move the whole shoulder girdle, specifically the scapula,
Mhm.
you also, in effect, move your ribs. And you get your ribs moving, you move everything inside the ribs. And so
Mhm.
that's a nice lung massagey.
I like it.
Yeah, technical terms there, lung massage.
Massagey.
Massaging.
In the lungs is like one of the key things to consider. I mean, just on like an intimate, because it's a very intimate sort of dialogue that's available this moon as you're bringing your chi inward and garnering what we call garnering your chi, like it's a harvest, like you are consolidating and revising, and you're bringing the chi close, like to you. And I personally consider there to be a lot of grief around what I call machine time or machine calendar. That is like, it's like a kind of perfect storm, you know, when you think about the analysis and the demands of machine time or machine calendar. Like,
that just sounds so awesome to me. I want to have machine time with my son. Come on, son, machine time.
machine time, yeah.
That's cool.
Because machine time is not, you know, interested in the cycles of the season. They want you there at 7, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's winter or spring, right? So that's machine time, and machine calendar is, you know, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? So this is machine time, and I feel that in the case of being in doing this kind of consolidation and this sort of reconsideration and retreat in the relationship between the rooster's kind of analysis can't look away, like it's just so apparent. Like rooster can't notice, can't like sweep it under the rug. Like it's a tremendous amount of effort to look at for a rooster chi to consider something, to not consider the evidence that's in front of them, right? It's like very difficult for them to do, for that chi to do. And in a sort of analysis and in the context of a water rabbit year, what that analysis evokes is a sort of desperation of a rabbit, which is why I say that you know, our adherence and our participation with the banker's calendar, you know, the machine time, is one of grief. And grief is lungs, like big time. So, you know,
bankers, finance, it's more metal.
more money, yeah, more, you know, because it's never not expanding, it's never not growing, you know. So this is, I think, a moon where people can get really sick.
That's
really sick.
what Ming would always say. He would say the peach blossoms, when they come, this is a time of mania, this is a time of depression, this is a time of death.
Right.
Because yang doesn't go down without a fight.
Right. Yeah. And that's you know, there's a kind of, you know, continuing with the binary theme, you have a path of elegance before you, and you also have a path of hysteria. So both are equally available this moon. To be in a place of elegance is to consider that, like, yeah, yes, this is ending, you know, and I can actually celebrate with mooncakes. I can recognize the influences of the moon, and I can respect the sun and the culture of the sun, but I don't have to maintain it. Like, I can actually step away from it, and I can retreat to the culture of the moon. And, you know, for the Chinese tradition, like, as we talked about, yin is dominant. And it's dominant because it's value, it's meaning, it's purpose, you know, it's everything culture, everything related to culture, like genuine human culture and relationship to like Dao De, or to nature itself, to be in dialogue, to be relating, to be responsive. All of those things are yin. All of them, you know, everything, it's all around yin. So we've gone through another summer season. Ooh, we survived, you know, like everybody can kind of let their hair down and like, okay, the work of harvest is still happening. You know, we want to get the security and the tally in, but there's also the path of elegance where we can appreciate cool, calmer days ahead of us. And, that's why Moon Festival it's like Ming would say is the poets festival, right? Where they would like lounge in boats and float down the river. It's like, it's perfect,
Yeah, well, even in Japan, shout out Japan, they have the big red leaf festival. Right, it's a big deal, the falling of the red leaves.
Right. So this is the time to sort of regain that like level of appreciation, for all the meaning that underlies your life. Like, and it can be very abstract, especially considering that it's this intelligentsia kind of poetic feeling, associated with feeling of the rabbit. So there is this melding. This is why I don't have problems with diametrics so much, even though like tiger monkey is the most vicious combination, and then rooster rabbit is number 2.
Really? Yeah.
Well, because it's this it's outer and inner, like it's the inner world of the rabbit and it's the outer mastery of the rooster. But when you have this space and time, as long as you're retreating, as long as you take the consideration and grant the spaciousness, what we might say nowadays is give yourself permission, to actually step back, and like all that nonsense about like that you need permission, like it's just natural, to want to, eat alone, and just kind of relax for a minute, calibrate, catch yourself, and reconsider, what am I doing? What am I doing? Is this what I want to do? Not that you have to have an answer, it's just that when you allow yourself to reconsider, you give yourself the chance to be re-inspired. If you don't reconsider, then you're just a zealot.
Yeah, if you don't reconsider, that's dogma.
Right.
That's stagnation.
And this is an issue, because one of my favorite quotes of Ming recently has been, the idea of the path might be just a summer fling. That it's something like I can see clearly and I know where I'm going, and it's something you never reconsider. You don't live in the cycles, and the cycles are to reconsider and disperse, so that something can reform, reconstitute, re-inspire, and move forward. That's you having a dialogue with nature, right? But if you're holding like, I know what my path is, and then what are you going to do during the darker moons? You're going to read dogma. You're going to go back to the Bible or whatever, like you're going to go through, all the dictums, and you're going to, basically reaffirm or, take your vows again, and, just to kind of hold it together, because what's happening in the atmosphere is kind of like dispersing, it's breaking apart, so we are technically, 2 weeks away from water. When the first moon, so after this, the next 2 moons is water dog and water pig, and that's going straight to the bottom of the pool. Like,
wow, watch your language. I'm going to Hawaii in 2 weeks.
well, that might be good. That might be good. Like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Might be nice. But it's just to say that, like, opening ourselves up for this kind of reconsideration. Like, you either like wade into the pool, and like, I don't really go above my waist, you don't want to really go into danger. You just want to get like splash around and have some fun. Or like you trip and fall into the pool, which was what most people do. Or you can craft yourself like an elegant dive with precision and grace. And so that's actually what's available to us in this moon, in this time, is to kind of be in that elegant place where you can hold the duality of like what you're doing, with clarity in this moment, clarity. Clarity is not permanent, it's seasonal. There is no permanent clarity, but there's a good time to aspire and to work with clarity. And that's now, that's in this moon. And then I said, like working with the binary idea, like the other binary is, elegance or hysteria.
Mm.
And where you trip and fall into the pool and you're like, I don't know what's happening.
Well, speaking of elegance and hysteria, we've just made it through the hysteria of a transition into a new tea, into an elegant new brew.
What's this one?
It's the same dragon pearl,
Okay.
same red tea,
All right.
but now
But
wrapped with rose.
ooh,
Yeah. Yeah, and then so people are probably considering, because it's not the herb that we did earlier at 185, this is now the tea that I'm brewing at 195, because it's compressed in a really dense ball. I'm letting it soak for about a minute and letting it kind of bloom, and that's my first rinse. And then from there, I'm brewing it, and we're getting these really, really nice, light, aromatic brews from it. Rose. Okay, so segment.
segment.
Oh yeah, it's not working. There we go. Good luck, bad luck, who knows? So you just blew my mind, right? The rooster and the rabbit. Is this a good luck, bad luck? Who knows? Because I tell you what, my wife is a rooster.
Yeah.
And it's a rooster moon,
Right.
full rooster moon.
Mm-hmm.
And today, I love you, honey, was the happiest I'd seen her in years. We, oddly enough, speaking of happy, we played a bunch of Radiohead and we were singing karaoke with our son and just, really enjoying the afternoon. And there was a very, very sweet, sweet moment. And so, I hear rabbits and roosters don't get along. And so
Sure.
I think, oh, rooster moon rabbit year might
Right.
be trouble. And yet my experience of my wife today was really, really sweet.
Yeah.
So tell us, good luck, bad luck, who knows?
I mean, the conditions around that, especially in a day like today, where today was about the, supportive, the commitment to legacy, the commitment to like what we want to carry forward. Because another aspect of the rooster or the eighth moon is not just reconsideration, but preservation, right?
Mhm.
Like, what are we going to actually carry physically? Like, what are our resources? Like identifying our resources. We sort of mentioned that at the beginning of this segment, just to say that, like, I got a tally, right?
Yeah.
Right. But what is the tally? The tally is also an experience of satisfaction. And it's also representative of, like, it's not just this year. This is one part of a longer dialogue of our legacy, our experience of legacy, our desires to, like, to leave something behind or know what we're committed to.
Yeah.
Because this can be a great time of insight and re-inspiration.
Well, it's pickling season.
Right. Exactly.
This is
Yeah.
when you want to jar and
Yeah.
can and preserve.
So I mean, like, absolutely get on all of your fermented foods, like, for sure. Like the alcohol that we have, the rice wine, again, like
Segue.
moon cakes and rice wine. Please toast the moon. Like, find time, particularly on Friday. Like, yeah, sing to the moon. Yeah,
Wow.
sing to the moon. Like, be grateful for the moon. There's this amazing podcast. Like, I can't do it justice by explaining it, but it's a very poetic. This person is incredibly skilled at speaking. It's called The Emerald. Is the podcast name, and he has a whole presentation on how your consciousness is the moon, and its relationship to who. But
Sounds
there was
very David Icke right there.
there was a lot about this particular presentation that I was like, this is View teaching over and over and over again. I mean, he's speaking from a different tradition, and he's not evoking or invoking the Chinese tradition at all. But it's clearly evident, just in terms the moon's influence in terms of the evolution of life, like the moon's influence in terms of, like, our heartbeat, the rhythm, just that there is a rhythm at all that we constantly tap into continuously. I can't wait to have this. right? Wow. Oh,
Wow. Shout out Sohan at
That's
West
nice.
China Tea. You guys killed it with the tea club
those are
this month.
very nice.
Wow. If you're not on the tea club, consider it. Because then you get to enjoy these things with us. But sorry, you were.
Rhythm. Just talking about the moon itself. So like paying homage to the moon and the moon's influence to our lives.
If I may, there's a qigong for that.
Okay.
Oh, doubling up today with the qigong for that, because we talk about cycles of the moon and the ratios of that, right? Cycles of the moon versus cycles of the sun. And so the relation to that in our qigong practice would be cycles of breath versus cycles of heartbeat, and the ratio of, right? And so if we have a lot of breaths and a lot of heartbeats, life is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, very short.
Right? And then if we have slower cycles of breath and slower cycles of heartbeat, life is just a little bit more comfortable in those instances. And then so there's no other thing to the system outside of slowing the breath and slowing the heartbeat comfortably. Everything else superfluous, right? And so when he talked about the cycles of the moon and time, it reminded me of that relationship with breath to moon and heart to sun.
Right. Beautiful. There's and it's kind of on par with this like exploration of elegance. What they say, moving
That's what
from
I should call my biography.
moving from doing to being, right? Like this invitation of that's a seasonal. There's a seasonal invitation for that, where there's nothing wrong with doing. Like doing is very important for the preservation of like our way of life. But to follow the seasons is to then go into this process of reconsideration, which will make winter much more fun and much more tolerable. Like if we already have some practice with slowing down and saying no, and steadying ourselves for longer periods of rest. Right. So harvest is bunch of work, rest, bunch of work, rest, bunch of work, rest, and then it starts going, rest, a little bit of work, rest, and then you get to the place where like you're done, and then you're just resting, or as resting as much as possible. That's actually seasonal. That's actually kind of required.
Shout out lazies.
Yeah. So, but like obviously on machine time, that's a big no-no. So that's why I think it's really important to, this moon is actually pretty important, because if we're still being provoked by machine time and not able to kind of reconsider like our investments, then when we get to, because the notion of the eighth moon is that you need to strip it down to the primer, like maybe rebuild. And then, because once you get to the dog moon, which is next moon, you're going to want to repaint it anyway. You're going to be like, you know what? I really do like that, and like, but if you don't allow yourself the capacity to generate some spaciousness, like you say, give yourself permission, then it's just going to be a very, very choppy winter.
Okay. So then in good luck, bad luck, who knows?
Oh yeah. Right.
Who really needs to give themselves some permission?
Horses.
Horses. Hear that, Mom? I love you, Mom. Your birthday is day after tomorrow. I'm joking. I love you, Mom.
So in terms of if we're going to go through it, like, dragons are soon to disappear.
Don't say that.
Just for the year. Yeah, I mean, it's in the calendar. Dragons and rainbows, as heaven and earth separate, both of those go to bed necessarily, so that they can be there in the spring. So there is that kind of timing that's coming for dragons, and they know it. They know what's good for them.
Shout
Mm.
out dragons. We got one coming over here tomorrow.
Yeah, so you want to house a dragon in and give them lots of space.
Yeah, Matt Lucas. Shout out Matt Lucas.
Snakes, good looks and bad looks, who knows? Snakes are very familiar with retreat.
Yeah, and then it's also snakes and roosters get along.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
right.
And so they do well in the rabbit year because they're very sensitive and can go in.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean the snake can, I mean the advice for snakes, I don't even think I need to say this. They're already doing it. You know, they're finding their places to hide.
Did you say finding a place?
They're finding their places to hide.
to hide, or
yeah,
I thought you said to die.
no. They understand winter's the agenda. They get winter's assignment. They're not resisting, you know. But for snakes, it's important for them to find where they need to be, where they feel in a rabbit year, especially where they feel safe in order to like disappear.
Mm.
And then the horses that we mentioned, like this would be the time. This would really be the time for horses to wrap it up. Whatever outstanding projects you have going on, be very clear. Like actually end that project, or you know, send it over to spring, right? Like don't keep it going. Like make an agreement, you know, somewhere along the line that like, okay, we're going to continue this contract in the spring, but like give yourself more space and time, you know, in as much as you can to actually not be on demand by people. Yeah. Not work the machine. Don't work machine hours.
Mm-hmm.
Same for goat. Goat, if goats do that, then they actually can host parties and like network and do the things they like to do, right? So
yeah, and goats love being social. I remember.
And Pig Moon is coming.
I remember being in Prague, and one of my friends, shout out Bo, he had a big old farm with maybe about 3-4 goats. But in the shed that they slept in, he'd line the walls with mirrors so that they'd feel like there were more of them. And they would have no problems through the night. But before he put those mirrors up, they'd maybe feel a little vulnerable. When he put those mirrors up,
then they would feel like there's more of them.
Yeah, and so when I hear like, hey, goats can be social, yeah, they probably would really appreciate that going into the winter.
Right. Monkeys do best to shut it down as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, no more, you know, like
no more watermelon.
their big year is coming. The breakout year is coming.
That's true, huh?
Yeah. So like anybody who's like breakout year is right around the corner, yeah, just shut it down. Like slow down, take care. I'd say the same thing for tigers.
Wisdom.
Tigers need to actually, I mean, they're already doing this, but like they need to also kind of disappear. Most of us need to disappear. It's the rabbit year. Like you barely got out of the warren as it is. Like, so that's okay. Like that's not, no, you're not supposed to get busy now. It's like winter. Right?
So no getting busy in the Burger King bathroom.
That'd be the property of pigs, and like who knows what they're gonna do. Winter time is pig time. So lots of intimacies are gonna be, I mean, plenty of kids will be born, you know, in the autumn this time next year.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Hey,
segue.
That's pretty much it. Rats, we already know what rats are doing. They're also,
rats are ready.
Yeah, rats are ready to shut it down, for sure. Are we having rice wine?
Yeah, so we kind of breezed through our beverages today. We had an herb, we had 2 teas, and now we have some fermented rice wine. Wow, some soju. I don't know the fancy way to open the soju. Apparently there's a whole culture to how you open these things.
I was just wondering if we were going to have some old-fashioned baijiao. I have an interesting, oh, no, I shouldn't share that story. Oh, it's very embarrassing. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, nice smell. Not as sharp as Baijiu, whereas Baijiu kind of has that kind of turpentine side.
I chose lethal. Shout out to Sasha Matuzak.
Oh, wow, 1 cup came back. Look at that. Hmm. So if I pour you, will you pour me?
Yeah.
Just because, you know. Ooh. Here. Wow. What's an appropriate cheers?
Gambe.
Gambe, dry cup. Wow, that is very metal.
Thank you, Moon.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Wow. All right.
That's like a
Pleasant.
very floral,
Mm.
super clean.
Wow. Let me make sure my wife gets some of that. Whoa.
Thank you for bringing that. Yeah, it's the fermentation. It's the preservation of all things beautiful about life, right? And then the toasting, that preservation of all things beautiful toward the thing that the source of all beauty, which is the moon.
Mm. Mm. We have a move called Fairy Moon Goddess. And it's this image of the moon goddess lifting the reflection of the moon off of the river and bringing it back up to the heavens. And it's an interesting story because she's this young, beautiful moon goddess, and yet she's cried so much that she's made this river, right, that the moon's reflecting off of. And she's crying because the impermanence of her beauty. And so she's mourning the loss before it's even gone. The story of the fairy moon goddess in our Dragon Gate system.
I mean, it's all sort of encased in the image of the moon, like the impermanence, like, and then the beauty, and the inspiration, like most everything that we draw as human beings that's positive about life, that's all found in the moon. Unless you're like a solar culture and believe that everybody should die, you know, like there's very aggressive, you know, like there's no negotiation with solar culture, really. It's just like go, get on board or else. Whereas the lunar cultures like have more of an understanding of that cross-pollination aspect of life, even cross-contamination, like that's we're going to corrupt each other. We're gonna, you know, we're gonna shift each other's cycles. We're going to be in a place of reciprocity. How do we do that? How best do we do that? And that's where like ritual and consistency and all the great virtues of humanity come in response to this essential, necessary, cyclical impermanence. Right? All of our responses to not how to change it or make everything fixed in amber, but to actually be in this kind of relatedness, or in this responsiveness to the cycles as they go. And this also reflects Tao Te, you know, that our natures are not separate. They're each of our natures are not separate, and we belong here. That's one of the things about Tao Te that is actually important, and to the season, that we can actually trust nature by observing it and emulating it. And that's hexagram 20, is that if we take that as our guide, we can't go wrong. You know,
in the conversation of emulating and taking as our guide.
Oh yes. Oh my.
Did I get that? What would Ming do?
More rice wine.
What would Ming do? More rice wine.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Last month, Ming would be cooking
Right,
and sharing food.
right,
The month before, he'd be going into retreat.
right.
Now, with mid-autumn upon us, equinox moon.
Yeah, I think it's you know, he was Black Hat. You know what I mean? He was Black Hat Taoist.
Mm.
So his lineage, the Leo lineage, Black Hat Taoists, they do rituals to maintain the continuity of nature. You know, that's the level of ritual that Black Hats perform. Is not so much like help me cure me my disease or help my daughter like get well. It's like let's make sure the rain comes. You know, let's do these sorts of things. And like you know, a big day for that is tomorrow, actually, with the Ladle constellation that comes in tomorrow, which is this kind of calibration, you know. So the rituals of the Black Hat Taoists are the calibration of nature. You know, that's actually their responsibility. And the calibration between human and other realms, like ghost realms, you know. So there are big times of the year where those sorts of rituals are performed. So I'd say in this particular moon, you know, you would never know it. You would never know because it's never announced, right? But there are those times a year, and especially in these transition points and these pivot points like equinox, where there's a clear kind of straddling as we know which way things are going, you know, even though there's balance and it's 50-50, equal light, equal dark, we know where we're headed, you know. So it's really honoring that balance, being and reflecting the balance by willing to kind of reconsider our own condition, right? And then also prepare the way forward, which is what I would imagine Ming would do.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Ming.
That was so sweet the other week when we celebrated his birthday with barbecue tri-tip.
That was great. And yeah, it's shared stories of like, you know, our interactions with him or like his history, and pretty special guy.
Guys, 2 shots of rice wine in. I think we're
Ask
in
me anything.
a wonderful place for Q&As. Who's all here? How many people do we have here today?
We got 13 total.
Damn, it was a lively crew. How many people have their cameras on?
I got 3.
Good. That might have messed up our shot, though. It might have shown everybody. What's the thing? We're figuring it out. Tech. Tech. Okay, questions, guys.
If there are any, I mean,
We were that thorough.
we were pretty thorough. Slow start, but then we came out strong.
And you already talked about the hexagram, so sorry, Connie.
I did. And the only other hexagram to take a look at, it's a current one right now, is hexagram 22. And that has to do with the nature of beauty. So we're talking about like, yes, of course. And we're talking about the emulation of nature and the observance aspect and how that brings joy and enjoyment. So moving from hexagram 20 to 58, and then considering just the authenticity of our joy, which is 22.
Oh, my joy is authentic. Yeah, my party.
Yeah, just yeah. So yeah, appreciate it.
Bet. Question time. Wow. Okay. Well, guys, that's it then. Right on time. Anybody in the house? Question?
Very precise.
Are all the animals specific to the year? No, Rooster is my year, but Metal Dragon is my mom.
Oh, somebody 60 years old.
No, it's just years. Metal Rooster. She's born in 81.
Oh.
Yeah. If she's Metal Rooster year,
That's
or they are, I don't know. Yeah. So Metal Rooster. You know, it's a cycle of 60. That's the simple cycle, which is five iterations of the 12 animals. So, and the metal rooster is the roosteriest rooster. It's basically, when you say rooster, you're basically saying yin metal. Yin metal is like a refinement, but it's all perpetual refinement. So it's like constant overthinking. That is rooster. You know, that is the kind of potential for paralysis by analysis, but like just constantly in touch with like the calculative nature of life, you know, this kind of. So anyway, the point of the question was, yeah, the moon is related to, it has its own sort of cycle in relationship to the rooster. Specifically. So everywhere that a metal rooster is, or like a metal rooster day, is that right? Yeah. So metal rooster day will have a metal dragon hour. In the case of a metal rooster year, we'll have a metal dragon moon, right? So these things kind of go together. It's all math. But there are 4 other iterations of the rooster. Yeah. So. I hope everybody enjoyed this as much as I enjoy this rice wine.
All right, you can stop the recording, but maybe don't close it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.